Continuing our example of retrofitting your company's headquarters building to a LEED Gold standard, we've completed the description and the purpose alignment sections of the overview worksheet, and we've used the ESG progress worksheet to describe how the proposed project will help the company achieve its sustainability goals. So it's time to get into the calculations part of the business case, beginning with an estimate of the potential revenue growth arising from your initiative. When you go to the Revenue tab and you open up the Revenue worksheet, you'll notice that the first thing it's asking for is some current company data, the current revenue and the current profit. Let's assume for our company, these numbers are like this. So where would you get those numbers from? Well, you get them from company documents, from contacts, usually in finance. You may find them in annual reports. Based on the revenue and the profit, we've done a calculation, a simple calculation of the percent profit. And as you can see from the formula up above, it just divides the revenue by, or divides the profit by the revenue, and it comes up with 7%. So those are the beginning numbers, and now what we're going to do is show the way in which this project might improve the reputation of the company, for example, to the point that customers want to do business with it because they want to do buy products and deal with a company that has values that resonates with theirs. And if the company cares about climate change and is trying to come up with a green headquarters configuration, they may want to deal with that kind of company. So let's start with the revenue growth from improved reputation. If we mouse over the white cell that you need to fill in with the anticipated percentage improvement, you'll notice that a comment box pops up. That comment has some guidance about what the potential improvement might be for that particular line item, and it's in a box that disappears when you move your cursor away or try to move over. So what we need to do is freeze it. And the way you do that is you right-click on the cell. That brings up a menu, and partway down the menu there is an Edit Comment selection. Click on that, and what that does is it freezes the comment. And this is a typical comment. It has 4 different parts. It has a description at the top. So this is a description of what that field is all about. The context, a little bit more about how this line item might be impacted by a project. Some possibilities, in other words, some data, some examples of what other reports, studies, research companies have found. And then there's some estimation guidance. And in this particular case, it's talking about the extent to which consumers are attracted to companies that are paying attention to things that they care about and that they vote with their wallets on things that they want to support. So you take a look at those possibilities, you talk with your marketing people to see whether they think this might be possible for the customer set that the company has, and you come up with an estimate of what might be possible for your company in your sector, in your location at this time, based on this external information, perhaps other research that you might do, advice and counsel from folks who are closer to the customer's activities than you are, and you come up with a percent. And let's assume by the time we're finished, we decide that maybe there's a potential of a 5% growth for the company. So we put in 5%. And let's scroll back so we can see the rest of the worksheet. Notice that the workbook has taken that 5%, multiplied it by the current revenue, and come up with a number of 25 million, which is what you would be able to get if you improved your revenue stream from current customers by that amount. And that's the same process you do for the other potential ones. Some of these you may be able to capitalize on. Some of them may not have anything to do with this kind of project, and therefore you just leave them blank. So when you're finished, it might look like this. So we've added in another line item that allows for the fact that we might get more revenue as a result of the stronger brand and social license to operate of the company as a result of this project. So altogether, we have a gross additional revenue of $35 million. Now we need to take a look at how much of that actually flows through to the bottom line. And that's what the net revenue contribution to annual cash flow is all about. So let's click on that comment and open it up. As before, the comment disappears if you don't freeze it. So let's do the same thing before. Right click, edit comment, it opens it up, and now we can read it. So the context in the comment acknowledges that not all this additional revenue is going to flow through to the bottom line, that you have to allow for cost of goods sold, other overhead operating expenses associated with running the company and generating the revenue in the first place. So to be conservative, we assume that the percent of the increased revenue, the gross revenue, that will be added to the cash flow is the same as the percentage of today's revenue that contributes to profit, or today's percent profit, which is what we calculated above. If folks in finance are comfortable with a more aggressive assumption, that's fine, but this is a fairly conservative one and it's probably a good one to start with. So the formula in the box takes the value, which is in J16, I'll just go up to there, J16, which is the 35 million, and multiplies it by the percent profit, which is in J8, and that ends up with the amount that we're going to use as the net revenue when we get to the calculations later on of return on investment. So there are three things that we can take away from this wonderfully short worksheet that's going to apply to other worksheets as well. And the first thing is that when you take a look at the comments, you may find that some of the examples aren't as relevant to your company situation as you know other examples are. So you can edit those possibilities. You can simply treat this as a text box and put in other examples of whatever you think would be better things to put in. So just whatever you want to add, just as background to the assumptions. You can also use this comment box as a place to add where your assumptions are being derived or the methodology that you used. So you can say note and make a little bit of a notation as to what it was that you did to come up with whatever it was that you decided was the right percent. So it can be a sort of a notepad for whatever assumptions and thinking and data and examples are feeding your thinking on what the assumed improvement might be for various cells. The second thing is that you're probably looking for the right assumptions to make about the benefits of your initiative to your company. Get comfortable with making educated guesses and relying on judgment, and that's how all financial projections are made. They're glorified fiction. What you're trying to do is have really well-informed fiction. So be conservative. You'll know that your assumptions are right when the managers who are most responsible for the particular line items agree with your assumptions and the numbers that you're using in those assumptions. So let them be more aggressive on possible percentage improvements if they're comfortable with doing that, but you should probably start off low and have them drive you high rather than vice versa. And finally, some line items may not benefit from the initiative, but leave them in the template anyway. You may find that they make good discussion points with other managers later in case they see possibilities that you didn't. Plus, leaving them in as zero shows that you're not trying to make wild claims about unlikely benefits. So it helps build your credibility and trust with your fellow managers. So we're finished with this worksheet. The highlights of this are automatically copied into the overview. So you'll notice that now the revenue line in the overview has the two numbers that we had as gross revenue and net revenue. So these are automatically copied in by the workbook, and it shows that we're partway through the overall business case. Next, we're going to take a look at the operating expenses, and we'll do that in the next video.